but not getting the game in carrying slicer and match comments, but you do also have access to the news select stuff. And you can do things like carrying slicer or match comments to just output the entire game with this other use. And also the magic damage type is just very versatile, as well as stats and spells have such high requirements. Some of the best stats and spells in the game just have such stupidly high requirements that don't need to be split even built, but it's never going to be that good. But if pure intelligence is like the best thing to have, up until you get to about level 250, there are certainly S tier and broken options that you have, and a lot of these have just gotten better in this DLC as well, for the things like the Talisman of the Dread. Like the best weapon in the game can block the blood.
These are my top
set. Even better. As I have to mention in perhaps the video, that the full mark still exists. And this is a very decent still that have
who's going to be on my top 6? That is question Beauty, Killer, and Gunpierre for sure. Popple, JJ, man, you're lucky great, Saturday 79. For here, that's such a center spot. So he's basically put an opposite slot.
Now this is got to come with a little bit of caveat. This is only going to be good if you have predominantly Arcane and like a little bit of strength. As I was mentioning with a pure Arcane build, this is basically the exact same thing as pure Arcane, but just at higher level. So I wouldn't recommend this build have to be like below level 120. This is only if you have like endgame and also extend trade Arcane. It's just the best build has in the target. You then access the space, have weapons, which is like open fusions, like an open fusion, damage involved, rapid talents, starfists, then especially scavengers, transfer, crossfire, and these are like the best status effect weapons, and they're going to support in everything in the entire game, especially if your arts medium plus, its percentage damage is going to be much better. And you're also going to have the dragon convenience seal. And you can have about 30 faith, you're going to have access to so many amazing spells. And the dragon convenience seal will have damage with all the other faith-based seals too. You're going to have more spell damage than a faith type build, have access to some of the most broken blue weapons, and you're going to get 20% more damage to your dragon's convenience spell. And the dragon's convenience spell are just broken too. All these weapon attacks go so incredibly far down top walls to do this monstrous damage. Some of them do like status effects too. You have access to every single damage type and every single status effect. And you also just get up to like Rails Wolf, which is like the best debuff in the game. And it's Dragon Lord too, which is like the best physical damage in itself. These things in its looks like the loss of damage. And even if you wanted more variety, you have faith already. And with how cheap some of the best incantations are, like Axe Flame, Ancient Dragons, Lightning Strike, Expert Spears, you just have a completely unstoppable build. The only downside is that at lower levels, it's not going to be like this, and your weapon damage is probably not going to be that high, but with an arcane and a cult type of weapon, you're not going to benefit. the show, I also wanted to open up some discourse about the first overall pick. Whether or not that belongs to Vancouver is another thing. But today we're talking about Connor Garland and what Darren Dreger went out there and said on yesterday's edition of Sakaris and Price. This will be linked in the description. It is the audio of one of the clips they posted on Twitter. Trade talks have elevated after an embarrassing Canucks loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. At this point, Vancouver is listening to offers on just about every player. Now, to help us out with what exactly it is we're talking about in regards to Mr. Garland himself, there was a post made by the Canucks News Summaries on Twitter to recount Darren Dreger's full interview on Twitter yesterday. Big shout out over to Canucks News Summaries. Unlike some of the other videos on this channel, I don't want to just go out there and read everything. I wanted to just specifically focus on Connor Garland and the price that Vancouver has on this player. Take a look at Canucks News Summaries' summaries. The ask for Garland is at least a first-round pick. Another source said the Canucks are asking for a first plus something else. Darren Dreger's source close to the Canucks said they want a first and a prospect. The Canucks have placed high prices on their players because there is very little market. They're trying to take advantage of the tight market. Dreger uses the Jets as an example. They're looking for a scoring forward return, but no one is trading anyone with talent. And that is an interesting idea. Now, obviously, he's not directly saying Connor Garland to Winnipeg. I think two of the last place teams making a trade for a top six forward with term is quite ridiculous, if you ask me. But still, Connor Garland going for a first-round pick plus a prospect, a package that I do think is essentially the Kiefer Sherwood trade package at the moment. Now, I don't want to diss one player or the other and say that, oh, Sherwood is better, Connor Garland is better. They're both players with their own strengths and weaknesses. We can understand that, but the difference is the contract. Kiefer Sherwood, $1.5 million on the last year of his contract as an expiring UFA, is going to have a certain amount of value versus Connor Garland, who was signed on for a few years at $6 million a pop. The old 6x6 Louis Erickson contract, a big increase from the 4.9 he was making the past few years. But either way, Connor Garland has been a much more consistent player throughout the course of his NHL career, and he is a tad younger than Sherwood, too. So, pick your poison here. These guys are both versatile, feisty, right-handed forwards, not the biggest guys, and they have their own strengths and weaknesses offensively. Kiefer Sherwood is just kind of a no-nonsense player who does whatever he can to get the puck to the net. Connor Garland, third liner. He was a Blueberry Joshua, and everybody was so happy with that line because the top six forward depth, especially at center, was amazing. We're not going to speak too much about Sam Lockery and the Mateo, but still, Connor Garland potentially going for a first-round pick, another prospect, and something like that. Does make sense when you consider the current status of the market. This is exactly what it was. Rick Dollywall said the Canucks should be wary of. If a team like Toronto goes out there and puts a guy like Bobby McMahon on the trade market, all of a sudden, the price for Kiefer Sherwood and or Connor Garland goes down. Because, heck, if a team can't afford a Garland or a Sherwood, then why not just pivot to Toronto? And then you can make the trade for McMahon instead. He has some decent production, speed, and better size, too. So I think that Vancouver, trying to set the market the way that they are right now, obviously, they set the market technically with the Quinn Hughes trade, but I think that's an illogical example because the Quinn Hughes trade was a 1 in a million kind of trade. You're not going to see another trade like that get made this season, or maybe even the next few seasons, to be honest. So, when it comes to reasonably attainable, middle to top six forward options, Vancouver currently is the only team that's really pushing their guys out there, which is why teams are a little bit hesitant. Do they want to be the first team to take that swing, to make things set in stone that, okay, a top six forward, or not even a top six forward, a top six scorer in Vancouver is going to go for this rate, even though a Sherwood might be used in a third line in a Stanley Cup role, or even the fourth line, really. Connor Garland is a solid pro. He's a veteran guy. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And his leadership is also a very good part of the package he brings as a player. But you also got to remember that Connor Garland did sign with the Vancouver Canucks to be on this team and to stick around till the end of the deal. He does not have trade protection this season. That kicks in next season after that NMC starts. I do start to wonder whether or not some of the other arguments we had heard from media members will come true here. If a person like Connor Garland at one point says, hey, the team is going down a much different direction than I thought it was going down when I signed my contract. I want a chance to win. Can you please move me out? There's an opportunity for any of these top six guys to do that. But what I really appreciate about Connor Garland is every time he does an interview, every time he talks to the media, you never get the sense that he has half a foot out the door already. In the same way that you essentially thought that with Quinn Hughes, because Quinn, it was clear as a glass of water that Quinn Hughes wanted out, that he was not content with the Vancouver Canucks as a hockey team, and he wasn't willing to stick around long term. He didn't want to sign. All of a sudden, he's in Minnesota, and he's like, yeah, no, I'd be very open to signing here. Like, okay, thanks, man. Like, he never said anything like that when he was with the Vancouver Canucks. And so for Connor Garland, for him to still have the comments that he makes, he wants to be committed to this team for the solution, and it's obviously great leadership material. And the fact that he did sign long-term with this team does show that his loyalty is with the Canucks at this moment. I just wonder if a team does bark up and give that price. They're like, hey, here's a first-round pick and here's a B-plus prospect. Once Vancouver gets that package, is it an automatic deal? Do they have to think about it a little bit more? They accepted Minnesota's first offer for Quinn Hughes. Could they do the same thing for another team in Connor Garland? Let me know your thoughts as to what you think Connor Garland's pure asking price is going to go for. If he does get traded, what is the actual deal? And is this really just a matter of timing? Are the Vancouver Canucks going to have to do this right now if they want to maximize the value of their guys? Because if they wait a little bit too long and some of these other contending teams start getting hungrier, they might be able to convince some of the bottom dwellers to maybe free up some other names. That hurts Vancouver's chances of getting the package they want in a Garland trade after all. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Swedish Astral signing 9 and 5.
We already asked you to decide on the torpedo or who's passing the time. Well, they should go comment again, Joe. Who cares? Yeah.
At Singbar Foods, our new unreal deal is on. Plus, get an extra deal when you load your buy offers. Find new deals every week at our best prices.
No, I swear it exists. I've seen it before. I promise I'm not insane. Joe, stop the cap already. It doesn't exist. I didn't know I had to just fix the 3 extras to get it done with this. I bet my life that I've seen it before. It happened once on my own movie file. I spent an hour researching again, but I could never find it. I swear this time it's different. Obama, that's exactly what I said, but this news brain won't stop doing this. I just want to get started with the episode. Obama, I promise this guy exists. Just give me like a couple more attempts and then I'll give up, but I really want to prove this to you guys and all this crazy stuff. You're going to pay. Toronto, they're all going to pay. They're all going to pay the ultimate stuff. These are still Joe. It's not like this is rental. Still the hell out. Really, I'm helping your case. You're clearly.
Yeah, can we just move on? Please, we have numerous boxes.
Yeah, There he is. Look, you were the fun. There he is. I know crazy.
Right, Bill. Congratulations. You definitely just proved you are crazy. Now, there's definitely no doubt in my mind. You are completely sane. Can you just progress the story now?
With pleasure. Now, you can start it. The giver saw it. You saw it. You say no comments. All about it. Let's all begin this episode with the knowledge that I proved Donald wrong about Generation 3 Pokemon. Holy shit. Fine, good job, Joe. You are a Pokemon expert. Can you just do an intro now, for God's sake? Oh, yeah, my bad. Here's welcome back to the first play Pokemon and OffSeason. Last time the three of us traversed came back one cancer route. You give yourself a place with the woman from the script with one kid. Now we're at the top of the volcano. I don't even know what the hell's going on. I just have to fight a lot of fire trainers with such a thing.
You know what, Bill? Thanks for taking your time to put together something thoughtful.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, what the hell is this guy feeding his food game? Is it on crack or something?
The dude's got his chest there poking out of his deep V-neck and everything. Definitely decides to be a coke addict. I wouldn't be surprised if his Luciana got a hold on his dad.
That's what dogs do anyway. It's incredibly deductive reasoning, Donald. That's why you're the second most knowledgeable amateur player after the
Oh, second most, man. Let's fight these trainers first, and then we'll talk Joe.
Jesus Christ, did you guys skip the couple of therapy sessions in a second? Can you two act like normal human beings, please?
No, I'm just glad that conversation showed up. I was beginning to doubt myself, but now I'm as confident as I can be.
Love to hear
I'm
that.
going to destroy these guns and then take out flaring hot ass by the end of this episode.
Calm down, Joe.
And maybe even beat him in a battle.
Oh, wait a second. Whoa, you lucky bastard. You think you did a real kid in Joe?
Okay, that's nice.
Oh my God, you're doing a hell so you doing that?
You know what, Joe? I'm over it. Just don't surprise me that he's going to do it. The only thing that would be unexpected is if you actually managed to battle well.
Yeah, I'm getting desensitized to diversity as well.
Yeah, well, safe to say I won't be surprised this episode then. When you're consistent, Joe.
Goodbye, Patrick.
Yeah, life was coming and floating after that one. Good shit.
You know, Donald, that's true.
You can't say that, you bastard. That's too much to joke about. If you're going to joke about anything, joke about my gameplay, not the Titan bastard.
Oh, okay, so say that's Joe. You were a terrible critic, but you were not really.
Oh, hop off, Donald. I lost one Pokemon with Magnitude 9 because I was running through an argument. If I wanted to take it seriously, I obviously wouldn't have switched to the Magnitude in the first place. Besides, you've already lost multiple Pokemon in your episode.
All right, boys, let me talk for a second here. This is going to be a difficult day of battling for you, Joe. Because of that, you're going to need all the support you can get from us. It won't be as mentally demanding as the showdown battles, but you will have to strategize if you want to be Flannery with this team. We are not too well equipped for the fire type division. So that being said, guys, you still support here. It is so great to just figure out these.
All right, fine. I like to give Bill some shit talk during these less important battles, but you're right. When it's an important battle, the pride of our team is on the line. So that's enough to make me want to lend my support. Joe, try to focus up here and win some battles.
Fair enough, yeah. See, Donald watched this 10 billion IQ play. I switched Titan out against the ground type. Get up here like you get, man. You're thinking with your brain now.
All right, I'll send that progress. So Mango should be able to sweep through this Magma and the release, but Maxie is a little bit more difficult. He leads with an intimidating idea. So you should probably lead with one of your special attackers here. It shouldn't be a hard battle necessarily. His camera doesn't really have any good moves at this point in the game.
Okay, that works for me, Brock. Good look. Can either of you tell me what the hell they are doing up here in the first place? Like, did we ever have to come back here for anything that's impossible?
Yeah, no, this is one of those many reasons as to why Team Magma is a terrible villain organization. They have a secret base or something down below the mountain. But for now, they are trying to cause the volcano to erupt and take out the whole secret of something. Like it's literally a common. I don't know why this is part of the game.
What the hell? Why do they have a whole following of people that are okay with it? And what is up with the meteorite they're talking about?
Okay, I'm glad you asked about the meteorite, because I think that part's pretty cool. Team Magma believes that this is really as a trigger to cause the volcano to explode. Not much is explained about this, but There's a fan theory that the meteorite is actually somehow related to the red core, and some implications in the ground is reversion of the final form in later generations. Again, not much to explain here, but I think it is cool that way.
All right, stop jerking into the lore of Team Magma status for volcanoes for us. Time for the Maxi battle. Heal up Magma real quick, Joe, and let's take care of this. Here, seriously, Obama, you're freaking the leaders out. Joe, finish the periscope before the trips. Find out about your obsession with the projection.
They're not the goddamn force scripts guys, but whatever. Still, good job remembering to slip in a special attack for this. Should be a pretty easy battle, all things considered, but we could definitely get on one. Maxie likes to spam sand attack, flinching moves, and supersonic, so just stay patient more than anything else.
God damn it, of course he does. I swear this battle is going to take us 15 minutes because we aren't going to be able to hit a move. You'll be fine, Joe. Just believe in the team. It can't be that hard. That being said, we desperately need a water tank.
Yeah, that's big facts, Donald. It would be huge to have one for this episode, but unfortunately, none of the ones we want are available to use right now. That being said, after this episode, we should be able to move straight on to the fifth gym in the next episode, so we could potentially get our water tank done.
Wait, well, we can straight back to the beach and fifth gym, but the only things on the water in this game are tentacles and magic cards that you can't see. So, what do you mean we can get an encounter with it? Jesus Christ, I'm regretting thinking real violent. This move set is absolute trash.
We'll get replayed at 29, don't worry. But Donald, we will have a fun episode next time because we will get the best grass type move in the game for Robot. And we will get a hit back. Also, after we beat it, we get access to Spurs, and consequently, that gives us access to the good run. That's what I'm talking about, Donald. The good run opens up both the weak stance and the sharpshooter line, where technically speakers will be available to us to better.
Holy shit, I'm getting absolutely boned here. Bullet speed is half. Here we go. Anyway, that's a good point. I will probably take on the desert area for some training, but then shoot the normal guy. But more importantly, it sounds like we finally are getting to the point where we have to decide on our water time. I can't believe I have to switch up my level 26 starter. Level 24 might have been that is embarrassing.
Yeah, get that. Sure. Anyway, Donald, based on the comments from the recent episodes, people are pretty heavily in favor of the two Pokemon that you and Bill are kind of tossed between. There's a lot of steel and whalers, poor fishes, and maybe some others. But the choice between this cat and Torpedo.
Oh my God, now I suffer this. Yo, stop trying to get good at the game, please. It's better not flinch.
No, feels bad.
Holy shit, you've got to be joking. Oh my God, what is happening? Joe, can you just hurry up and beat this guy already? No, you're not paying attention to anything that happened on the screen over the last 2 minutes. No, Joe, not at all. I was thinking about our future water tonight, just how we are definitely getting a tornado, or alive, one or the other. Okay, well then, you can cut the hell up the trees, and one being how I have been getting boned by RNG in this battle. So now I'm just going to have Mango shoot instead of trying to spread experience. And the other is how we are not getting either of those Pokemon we will be getting with Cash. The hell was that, Joe? This Cash has more bonus for us than any of the other water types. And it has Liz in its name, just like with Merv. Joe, the viewers are not goddamn voters. They are simply giving us nickname possibilities for whatever they want. The number of viewers choosing one specific Pokemon has no effect on which one we actually get. Oh, I just scared of a fair voting system on this 10 cents a color. Oh my God, the hypocrisy in that statement, Joe. Obama, can you tell Joe that we aren't getting a goddamn rich pass?
Honestly, I don't give a shit between those three Pokemon. Both of the ones I wanted to be completely ignored anyway. I'm going to stay out of this one and let you guys figure out a way to come to a conclusion yourselves. Don't see me until you figure it out.
You know what? Fine. We have like 45 minutes of gameplay before we need to make a decision anyway. For now, I have more important things like getting down to the next town and planning out the gym. We're going to be talking about this later. Viewers tell Joe that Wiz Cat sucks balls and Sharpino is a better team member.
They'll turn back around. We need to grab the meteorite from that thing up there. We can give it back to the scientists in that Ashley town and get the return TM from it.
All right, good call, Barack. Donald, stop brainwashing the viewers. Viewers tell Donald that our team, considering the broken water and the typing and the much needed bulk that our team is missing.
Yeah, great. Let's just figure the viewers against each other. Why don't we try to keep things civil in the comments, please?
Why the hell is this lady up here? Wasn't this volcano going to explode in like 2 minutes if we didn't show up? He's a businesswoman, Joe. she's just trying to sell a cookie. And all those Team Aqua and Magnum units were her clientele. And you just ran them off. I would sue your ass up on her.
What the fuck up, Lydia? I couldn't care less about your senior singing co-star or whatever you're talking about. Delete this damn bill, a random girl with a city name focus, and you're trying to block her. I'm proud of you.
Barack, ever since that Magnificent 9 is in, it's getting hacked that entire site of your smack.
I just want to beat Flannery's ass and take a clear battle for the squad. It's taking way too damn long to get there. Calm down, Joe. We still have a whole lot of trainers before we get to Flannery. We have this whole route to get through the store, and her gym is especially full of trainers compared to the ones we've been through.
Obama, I just want to battle her already. That Max's fight pissed me off. And I'm trying to bring out that demon Joe that I saw in the last episode. Anyway, what the hell is this guy doing here? Didn't this Carol runs away? Yeah, this is where they are building their secret base that I was talking about a few minutes ago. We come back later. Uh-oh, objective.
Let's just kill this thing.
Oh no, don't just go deposit this whisperer when we get down to the next town.
It's not easy. It's not like substance use. But with the help of facility, doesn't happen quite so hard. But in the house, I end up being the same for everything.
We already have a couple water types to decide on one of our next encounters. And we already know the other one because George decided on the piece of shit for us.
Oh my God, let's just have this last episode of Ice Factory. Just like striking this one to dinner battle. Just like how Tina was to the last. All right, that's a fair point. Donald, when it's your turn next episode, you get involved in it. If it's yours to sack, then we'll do the same coming back.
I'm going to hear you say that, Obama. She's literally unconscious in her Pokemon right now, General.
Anyway, that brings up a good point about strategizing the judge. Her level 29 porthole is an absolute beast, and we don't have any good answers to it, if I'm being honest. We might have to train up the team a little bit after we go through the gym trainers. I don't think we're going to be able to handle them the way we are at. The Pokemon stats are severely outclassed by hers right now.
Obama, look at the couple of that note you let out in the middle of that.
There was a spider on my desk. Sorry, guys.
All right, whatever. Anyway, yeah, Obama, I have Flannery's team pulled up on my second monitor here, and I agree, it's pretty scary. The sunny days, the overheat, the tracks, the possible paralysis, and body symptoms, and overall just as scary too. But I really don't think it's going to be as scary as Washington. We can actually do a little damage this time. Also, that past battle, there actually gave me an idea on something we can do. So we can get back to that when we get there. I know I've been messing with you, Joe, but I think you'll figure things out. That being said, Joe, can you heal up our damn team? It's giving me anxiety.
Don't say that, Donald. Anxiety is a mental health condition, and you shouldn't joke about it.
Holy shit, Obama, what are you a social justice warrior or some shit now? Take a chill, Joe, you fuck.
Also, yeah, Donald, I don't need to hear. This game is full of warriors hardened by the experience of battle. They will live by the sword that I come.
All right, calm down, Rambo. It's not that serious. Also, something's weird with this double battle. Some random cyclist and some random stick kicker are just hanging out on the secluded cliff staring at each other. I feel like we interrupted something.
Mind your business, Donald. These NPCs have lives, too. We're the main character, not the only character. Have some respect.
All right, you know what, Joe? I should have known your creepy ass wouldn't see a problem with this situation. Obama, can you do what you do and change the subject for me?
Yeah, sure, Donald. So after this battle, just have one left, and then we're down at Wild Ridge Town. It is certainly secluded by nature, yet very beautiful place. Honestly, one of my favorite areas in the entire region. What do you guys think?
Thanks, Barack. I hate to see you hot. It's really okay. It's not just Florida. But Florida,
all right, even so political, but that's a joke. What about you guys?
I'm not a huge fan of it either. But the comparison to Florida and the fact that Joe dislikes it makes me like it a little bit more. That being said, I maybe don't
I hope
get it
Ivor Stanford becomes real Beast Wars. I've never actually seen him grow before, but I'm hoping to do.
Well, not surprised you can't tell, you Democrat. The hot springs probably has an incredibly high
The muscle weapons is definitely the most unique in this weapon category in the entire game. It feels like every single option on this list is different greatly in terms of things like stance damage or motion values. Normally with all the weapon categories that is tend to be very consistent in their options and how much stance damage they do, but it's not for the colossal weapons. And also you just only ability is kind of unknown, and somehow all these options are still kind of useless and mediocre. Now the colossal weapons tend to be very hard hitting but very slow, and out of all these like big and large strength weapons, I kind of like the colossal weapons the least. I like things like colossal swords, great axes, and great hammers a lot better, because they typically don't get that much less damage, but those either have much faster movesets, or weapon skill options tend to be a lot lighter, and sometimes even get just as much stance damage too. My colossal weapons have been buffed plenty of times throughout the recent updates, where some of the movesets might be a bit quicker and feel a lot more consistent to use, but even then for some of these weapons, I feel like they would just be better if they just were like a lot lighter and have a faster moveset. And in a game like this where enemies tend to be really fast, these slower type weapons that have long animations and cause a lot of stamina might not be as effective with how fast some of these bosses tend to be, especially because you can get just as much stance damage as some of these other types of strength-based bosses. But there are going to be a handful of really solid options that this class does have to offer, and we'll get into. But I do want you guys to know that this is probably going to be like the hardest weapon ranking that I'm going to be doing out of the categories. So once again, don't really focus on too much how I rank them, but just focus more on what I'm actually saying about the game. Starting off at number 20, the Dragon Great Skull, which is one of the worst weapons in the entire game, and it's not just because of the fact that this thing doesn't get a unique skill, but the weapon itself is just trash as well. Like, it is really light, and it does have lower requirements for a lost weapon, but it just gets like the worst damage by far. Like, there are other weapons with similar requirements in similar ways that just straight up outdamage this thing, even with the split damage that the Dragon Great Skull does have, because the scales of this thing are just horrendous. It does get bonus damage to dragons, but it doesn't really mean much with its split lightning damage, and the fact that it doesn't get a unique moveset or anything. Also, just being only gets standard damage as well. I don't know why this thing didn't get piercing damage, like it's literally called a claw. And also, this thing gets the worst stance damage out of all the colossal weapons as well. Typically, colossal weapons will get around about 40 to 45 stance damage on their charge attacks. This thing only getting 36, which is literally less than a hammer and worse than a heavy crossbow sword as well. But it doesn't even get a faster attack, it gets the exact same speed as all the other ones, and doesn't